Reserve the balance of our time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I yield to my colleague from Florida, I just wanted to debunk one of the statements that was made by my colleague from Texas. My Republican colleague and others, actually both of the speakers on the other side, repeatedly cited the National Association of Home Builders estimate that building a home to meet the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code standard would add as much as $31,000 in cost to a new home. This is flawed. It's intentionally misleading. Republicans are trying to demonize energy codes that actually save Americans money and deliver increased comfort, health, and climate benefits, all to prop up their fossil fuel buddies. This figure of 31,000 originally came from Kansas City, and when you actually analyze the cost breakdown, it includes information or costs that are not required by the 2021 Energy Code. For example, the costs include over $18,000 for double wall construction, but the code doesn't require double wall construction. It includes $3,000 for a ventilation energy package. The code does not require this package. It only requires one of several energy options, like energy-saving water heaters. So I could go on debunking these claims, but hopefully you get the point that this fictitious figure is just meant to mislead the public about energy building costs. And with that, I'd like to yield now such time as she may consume to the ranking member of our Energy Subcommittee, the gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Castor.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the ranking member for yielding the time. I rise in strong opposition to H.R. 4758. It is a bill that is going to socket to the pocketbooks of our hardworking neighbors back home. Republicans appear to be doing everything they can to stick their heads in the sand when it comes to the affordability squeeze. Higher costs, that's the last thing that our neighbors back home need right now. And yet, this relentless march by Republicans to bring bills to the floor that rip away savings from people who really could use it right now. What does this bill do? It guts a very popular common sense initiative that hardworking Americans rely on. In 2022, the Congress passed some rebates to help people afford home appliances through 2 home energy rebate initiatives that help lower their electric bills. The first is the Home Efficiency Rebate Program, or HOMES. That's a rebate to households that conduct whole house energy saving retrofits. That means that our neighbors can increase insulation in their homes or improve their HVAC systems. The second is the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program, or HERE. That provides rebates to upgrade electric panels, conduct weatherization, or purchase an appliance like an electric water heater or air conditioner. Because we know oftentimes people need a little bit of help with that upfront cost. If they can get a little help to afford an upgraded appliance, that is going to save them money in the long run. So it's just a real head scratcher while Republicans are bringing this bill in the midst of an affordability crisis. But I think when you look, if you listen to the State of the Union last night, that's a little bit illuminating, because the president said everything's great in America. He solved it. There's no affordability squeeze. Look at our economy is roaring. Everybody's doing great. That's not what I hear from my neighbors back home in Florida. Everything costs more. In fact, 80 million Americans are struggling to pay their utility bills. Electric rates across the country are up by 13% on average and higher in a lot of places. And then these illegal, arbitrary tariffs have added to this affordability squeeze. Many analyses have it at the average household paying $1,700 more per year because of the Trump tariffs. And Republicans in Congress have been supportive the entire way along. And even after the United States Supreme Court ruled last week that the tariffs, these high import taxes, the highest in 100 years on households making their groceries, their appliances, everything costs more, Even after the Supreme Court said they're illegal, you don't have the authority to do that, the president doubles down and he says, oh, yes, I do, and in fact, I'm going to inflict more pain. And Republicans last night in this chamber cheered more taxes on hardworking Americans. So this relates directly to the bill that we're debating today, because we're talking about affordable appliances. And you know what tariffs have done to the cost of appliances? Tariffs have driven a steady rise in appliance pricing, hitting American consumers with higher costs for essentials like refrigerators, washers, dryers, dishwashers. And because most appliances rely on imported steel, aluminum, and foreign-made components such as motors and control boards, tariffs on both finished goods and parts have pushed up production and import costs. Retailers and manufacturers are working on very slim margins. They have passed along all of these increases directly to shoppers, leading to some of the fastest price jumps in years. And now that the president said, I thumb my nose at what the Supreme Court has told me, and is now inflicting new pain and new taxes on America, new tariffs, that's going to keep appliances, the prices of appliances, elevated at a time when people are really under the gun and feeling the squeeze. They're going to make it harder to replace or upgrade big-ticket items. And the result is this persistent squeeze on family budgets with no meaningful relief in sight. And people will tell you this. They'll say, oh, okay, I might have listened to that speech last night, but they are out of touch. Everything is not all well. The affordability crisis is not solved. And now you bring a bill to the floor that makes it harder, that makes everything more expensive for people back home. 54 states have already are already getting these rebate initiatives out, getting the money into the pockets of consumers. Governors and state energy offices have dedicated their own funding and staff time, and they're working with the Department of Energy. This is something that Americans of all political stripes will support, and they need it. Texas received $689 million to help Texans afford new appliances and weatherize their homes. Ohio received $259 million. You're going to rip that away. Kentucky received $134 million. In Georgia and North Carolina, where rebates are already in place, participating families are saving over $1,000 a year. Now, that doesn't make up for the tariffs, the pain inflicted, the higher costs that people are paying, but it sure will help. Every dollar will help working families right now. In Florida, I know my neighbors are very eager to take advantage of the $346 million in cost savings that will come under these initiatives. We received it just last week. And you know why it's particularly important to parts of the country that have experienced disasters and hurricanes? Because I'll tell you a story. I was meeting with a small business owner and homeowners last week that are still recovering from Hurricanes Helene and Milton. One of my neighbors, Rebecca, is a retiree on a fixed income, living in a 960 square foot home in St. Petersburg. And when Helene hit, she lost her car, her furniture, her washer and dryer. She lost her air conditioner. And then what happened in the subsequent months? Electric bills went up, up, up. Last year, $170 in May, $258 in June, $314 in July. And as people try to rebuild, they could really use these rebates as they're replacing their appliances. Why do Republicans want to make life so much harder and more expensive? I guess because they believe what the president said last night, that everything's great, everything's fine, nothing to see here. Well, that's out of touch. It's really out of touch. For all of these reasons, at the appropriate time, I will offer a motion to recommit this bill back to the committee if the House rules permit it. I would have offered the motion with an important amendment to this bill. My amendment would require the Secretary of Energy to certify that implementation of this act would not increase costs for homeowners and renters. So I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the text of this amendment.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our neighbors are suffering an affordability crisis. They want policymakers in Washington, D.C. to help solve problems and bring down the cost of living. Every time the President and congressional Republicans deny that this is happening and say everything is great and everything is well, you're doing a real disservice to hardworking American families. Tariffs, higher electric bills, cost of housing, the cost of groceries. You can't turn a blind eye to it, and you shouldn't. What you should do is adopt my motion to recommit and defeat this bill. Vote no. Our neighbors deserve better. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman